all, and welcome back to my channel. In my previous video, I showed a workaround using VBA and JavaScript that we could get around the new modern web browsers controls trusted domains. And in all fairness, I thought I had a responsibility to at least cover what trusted domains were. Now, I've given a workaround to get around the whole issue. Personally, I think it's quite appalling the way it's been set up. And we're going to look at the way it is supposed to be implemented if we followed Microsoft's techniques. And then I'm hoping you'll understand why I developed the workaround. I'd love to know your opinion before going any further in all this. When you watch this, obviously, if you're an experienced developer, you've already played with the web browser control, you've already played a little bit with the trusted domains, you'll already have your opinion formed. If not, while you're watching this, while you watch the way the web browser control operates, I'd love some comments below to know, am I the only person that finds this whole concept of trusted domains and the way it pushes links out to your default browser or pop-up windows and things like that? Am I the only one that thinks this is abnormal and not a desirable user experience? Or am I right? Is this ludicrous to be putting this upon users? So I'd just love to get people's feel and opinion on the matter. But back to the matters at hand today, trusted domains. Let's not try to get around them. Let's try to work with them. What are they? How do we implement them? It's pretty straightforward, but there are, of course, issues. So let's dive in. If we open database, I have two forms currently. They're identical. So we're going to start off with the normal one, and then we're going to work with the trusted domains one where we're going to fix it up following Microsoft's approach. So let's just take a look here at a normal one. I'm just loading Google. It doesn't make a difference. Any page will do. And then for fun, I'm just going to bring up DevHut. And so what have we done here? Initially, the domain the web browser was linked to was google.com. Okay? Now I'm going to click on a link that isn't Google, but rather is devhut.net is the domain. And when we do that, by default, without having done anything, as you will see, it goes and launches Edge outside of Access. Access has not changed. The link, the page still remains there. It has gone and opened Edge to the URL of that link. So effectively, it's kicked you out of Access. Now, if I wanted to automate Edge, Brave, Firefox, whatever the case may be, there are other techniques I'd employ long before this one. So the new web browser control now has something called trusted domains. What are they? Well, trusted domains it's basically a list that you're going to create as a developer telling the Access web browser control these domains are safe. These ones I allow to open in Access's web browser control. If the domain isn't listed there, then you cannot redirect to it. It will push it out to the default web browser on that PC. So how do we do that? Okay, let's close the normal one. And let's pull this one up because this is the one we're going to work on. And what they've done now, if you click on the web browser control, they've added a new property called, you guessed it, trusted domains. So let's bring up the help for a second. As you're going to see, it's a single one line. Can't be too informative in our help files here. Allows you to specify a table name whose first column contains domains the browser is allowed to re-navigate to. Okay. Table name, first column. An example might help just a little bit here, people. But what it is you can create a table yourself. So that's what we're going to do, create a table. And the first column has to be the URLs that you're allowing. So the domains that you're allowing. So you can give the column field any name you want. You can give the table any name you want. So I like to do something like authorized domain. And then, I'll make it required, 0 length, no. And realistically, there's no reason to have any duplicates. So yes, with no duplicates. I'll remove the sub data sheet as per best practice. And then I'll close it. And yes, I haven't made this a primary key on purpose. I'm going to show you why in 2 seconds, because we are going to get there. But let me just demonstrate one thing. If you were to leave it like this, because a lot of people would. And then you're going to say, yes, save it. And you're going to give it a name. I like to make this as straightforward and obvious as possible. So I just call it Trusted Domains. Click OK. And now Access is trying to be helpful. It noticed I don't have a primary key, which, yes, most tables truly should. So let's go along with this recommendation from Access for a second and let it be helpful. So what's it going to do? Let's say yes. And it's going to create a primary key. So let's go back into design view for us. It automatically, to be helpful, created this primary key ID auto number. There's a problem with that, however. Remember what the help file said, whose first column contains domains the browser is allowed to renavigate to. By allowing Access to help you in this manner, now the first column is not the domains, but this auto number key. So we can't do this, okay? You have to, if you want the primary key, well, then either you define it later in your table, or since this is going to be basically a unique, no duplicate, and you might as well just make it your primary key. Save that. Now your table, and yes, it's a single column table, is ready to go. Now, let me back up 2 seconds. I said single column table. And that isn't necessarily truthful, because you can add any other column that you want, any other field that you feel can help you in managing this information. You could say why this is an authorized domain. You need it for this reason. You might put in, requested by, and you're tracking which users asked you to add them, things like that. So you can come in here and add subsequent fields. There's no issue. The critical part is that this first field is the one that houses the domains. That's it. What you do subsequently in any of the other fields makes no difference for this trusted domains to work properly. And now that we got that out of the way, we come back to our form, our web browser control, and now for the trusted domains, we're going to tell it use that table that we just created. We can now save it, and we're ready to roll. So let's give it a whirl. Well, we're going to do the exact same scenario as before. I bring it up. I want my website. It'd be good if I wrote it properly. There we go. And we press it. And, we're back in Edge. Now, why? Well, the why is simple. We haven't populated the table yet. We haven't told Access the domain. So let's do that. Let's take, let's try this. And we're going to try a couple things, because I want to illustrate to you what works and what doesn't work. So we're going to purposely make some mistakes, and we'll get there. Save you the hassle of making the mistakes by me doing them now during the video. So let's do the domain of devhut.net. Okay, that's fine. We're going to save it. So we've defined our trusted domain. We're ready to go. We click the button. And wait a second, we're back in Edge. What is going on? Well, what is going on is quite simply the web browser only reads that table when it's initially loaded. We haven't reloaded this form. Thus, the trusted domain that we just defined didn't exist when it was loaded. So it isn't aware that we have since added it. So the only way to make it update, that I've found so far is you literally have to close and reload the form. Then you'd have to redo dev hut, and now let's see what happens. Oh, but wait, that didn't work. We're still in Edge. So why? Well, let's close this down. Now let's change the domain to include the www. Now let's try it again. Do the dev hut. Be nice if, okay, there we go. And try it now. And yet again, it did not work. So let's go back. And let's try this again. devhut.net. Try reloading it. devhut. Click on it. And now it works. So what's a little annoying with this is you end up finding that domain isn't just domain, because domain in reality is devhut.net. You have to include the protocol prefix and everything for it to work, as we have seen. So this works great. And now I'm able to navigate from Google or any other website in reality to DevHut. So my DevHut is now safe. But let's try something. I'm in my DevHut. I did a search. I brought up this page. And now I want to click on this guy. I'm on a safe domain. But the problem is now I'm trying to redirect to another domain which isn't safe according to Access. So once again, you have to take the domain. You'd have to copy this guy. You'd have to come in here. You'd have to add it. And the important thing to note here is you don't need anything like the article or the subdomain or any of that type of it. You just need the main domain to make it safe. The other key component here, if ever you have a website that is partially secured and partially non-secured, is you'd actually have to create two entries. All right? You'd have to have the HTTPS entry and you'd have to have the DevHut entry. And from what I'm noticing, I could be wrong here, but I believe you even have to take it to a step further in certain cases, depending how links are created, and you might even have to do this. So now we're up to 4 entries for a single domain. So this can really become tedious to deal with. We're going to say that's good. Now the problem once again is it doesn't know I've made these changes. So I have to close, reload it. I don't know why it's not loading. Here we go. And this time, let's get there a little faster. We'll do a search directly in Google for the DevHut add-ins. Go to the page, let it load. Now we scroll down, and now when we click on it, it pops up. Whoa. But if you pay attention, oh, you won't notice because I had too many things going here. Let's close all of this down. Okay, let's try this again. So as you can see, right now I only have Access running. Now let's click on the link again, same behavior. But what has just happened now? If you notice, it is opened not in Edge. Edge is not active currently. It's opened in a separate pop-up window. I believe this is a WebView 2 pop-up window. I'm not 100% sure. No one has answered me on this subject. I did inquire. But now Access is generating, I guess, its own pop-ups to display the link that is technically a trusted domain. Why? Well, this has to do not with, well, it has to do with the way the web page or the link specifically has been created. So let's exit this for a second and let's use our developer tools to look into this a little bit. So you press inspect and there's a bug here, and yes, I reported it to Microsoft months ago. But if you right click a second time, then it works properly and will bring you to the proper place. This is our link. Let's edit it in HTML. And the issue here is because of this target. Target equals underscore blank. That instructs a web browser, and it's very common, to open the link not in the current window, but in a new tab. I do it all the time. That way my users don't lose their place when they click on a link. They always have that initial page, that landing page, still available to them. It opens it in a new tab. It's very common. Well, this is what happens. Because it has a target of blank, Access is now generating a, I guess, quote unquote tab, which is in its case a pop-up. So you can end up with a mess here. Now you're still not navigating in the web browser. We're now generating pop-ups. And then how do you control the views and things like that? And I don't know if we can even automate those pop-ups in any manner. It just doesn't make sense. So just to demonstrate that it is this that's the issue, I'm going to remove my target of blank. Okay, so I've removed it. Now when I click on it, you'll see it navigates properly. So it is entirely that attribute, the target attribute from the link, that creates these external pop-ups. I'm not getting into that specifically today. I will be doing another video to show you how you can get around that, but I just wanted you to understand that Access is generating that pop-up. Instead of going to Edge, now it's generating a pop-up. There is a way around it, not natively, but through a little bit of VBA. I'll do that probably in my next video. It will be coming out shortly one way or another. But as you can see, by having defined it, DevSol here in my trusted domains, it can navigate now internally. So I don't need any pop-ups if things are done properly. So I also wanted to demonstrate one other thing. Let's rename our table. I called it trusted domain. That makes sense to me. But just for illustrative purposes, we'll call it Bobo. And I just want you to truly understand the name of the table has zero impact here. Let's relaunch it. Let's search for DevHut and click on my DevHut. I know it's in my Bobo table. And as you see, it navigates just fine. And the same is true for the name of the field, the column. So you can name it however you please. Word of caution. We all know that the safe thing to do is always to deploy things in runtime and ACCDE, things like that. But we also know there's a bit of an issue here if we do deploy it like that, as an ACDE. Tables are still accessible, right? So that still remains potentially a security issue. Because technically, the whole purpose of this trusted domains was to secure where users could go, but now the table that might drive that could potentially be accessible to your users. So this is where hiding the navigation pane, doing things like that, a custom ribbon or menu, become more and more important, because otherwise users can then just come in here and they could type in any domain they want to be able to navigate to it. And that's basically the trusted domains, the way it works. It's not complicated. It's a question of creating a table with one field, one column, in which you're going to put in the domains that you trust. And then you link that table as the trusted domain property here. Now you have to do that for every control, web browser control. And don't forget, for any changes to take effect, you have to close that form, that report, and you have to reload it. And it will reread, re-import this data. Also, as you saw, it becomes a bit tedious because you may need to make as many as 4 entries for a single domain to properly be, I guess, unlocked trusted. Like you saw the HTTP with and without www, and the HTTPS with and without. So, it's a bit extra work here for no reason. I would have thought personally, for me, the domain, this is the domain. Okay. This would have made much more sense to me, because then any different protocols, it would have worked. But it doesn't seem to. And like when you register a domain for a website, that is how you register it. They're not caring if it's HTTP, HTTPS, if it's www or no. What you're registering is the domain. That is the domain. So, and just to prove, I think I already did it, but it doesn't work. And I just don't get Microsoft's logic some days. You see? That's just a major pain in the arse, as they say. I'm going to leave it there. I'm just rambling on here for no reason, but we've covered the basics. It's not very complex. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of either open it up in Edge by the default behaviors and you can come and copy it, okay, like I do here. Or the other option also, you can right-click inspect. Don't forget you have to do it twice, because the first time just brings you typically to the body. Don't ask me why. As you can see here, it's brought me to the body is what's highlighted. And then you do it a second time, and it actually brings you to that element, which is the link. You have to be careful in this instance. Google adds all sorts of crap because it does things with the URL, but I could technically decipher here that it was www.devhut.net. Okay. And then I'd come in here and I'd add it. Now my site is secured. I know that it does an automatic rewrite, so I know I'd probably just do that. And I'd be good. Okay, and then you do DevHut, and you click on it, and we're navigating. And that's it. So as I said, I'm just rambling on at this point. So I will wish you all a great day. If you don't mind, like, subscribe, leave me a comment. I truly would like to know what you guys think of this whole pop-up thing, whether it be going to Edge, if nothing is defined, the separate pop-up that Access seems to generate, and all in all, what you think of, I guess, quote unquote, the security feature, quote unquote, of trusted domains. I'd love other people's perspective on this. Anyway, leave it there. Have a great day, guys, and we will see you in the next video.